media for providing a very excellent student support system. The study material is of high quality. The learner support is provided through Gyan Darshan, Gyan Vani, IRC, Swayam Prabha and Swayam channel of IGNOU. For more detail, please log in to IGNOU website. For online admission in these programs, visit school site and also the Samarth online education portal of IGNOU. So please join these programs and fulfill your educational aspiration.
Namaskar and welcome to this program. Today I will talk about four Geneva Conventions of 1949. These are international humanitarian law conventions and the course code is BLE 035 and the program code is CIHL, that is Certificate in International Humanitarian Law. In one of the earlier programs, we discussed the meaning and sources of IHL. And while discussing the sources, I mentioned about the four Geneva Conventions and three additional protocols. These Geneva Conventions are related to first convention is related to land warfare, second convention is related to sea warfare, third convention is related to prisoners of war, and fourth convention is related to civilian population. In simple terms, when we talk about international humanitarian law, it means three or four things. Firstly, it limits the use of force, proportionality, necessity. These are the guiding principles. Distinction between military objectives and non-military objectives. So first is it deals with the use of force. It limits, in a way, we can say, it limits the use of force, use of weapons, and it also deals with the protection available to those who are not or no longer participating in war, in armed conflict. So the first Geneva Convention is called the Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the conditions of the wounded and sick in armed forces in the field and it was adopted in 12th August 1949. All the four conventions were adopted in 1949. And this convention mainly covers the wounded and sick soldiers, medical personnels, facilities and equipment, wounded and sick civilian support personnels accompanying the armed forces, and it also covers the military chaplains, civilians who spontaneously take up arms to repel the in the invasion. The specific provisions of these conventions I will briefly touch upon because I will not discuss in detail. I will just make a reference of the main provisions of these conventions. So the main provisions with regard to this convention, if I start with Article 9, and Article 9 talks about, says that this convention, like the other convention, recognizes the ICRC role, International Committee of Red Cross, and other Red Crescent and other local organizations who are dealing, who are providing support and medical and other needs to the wounded, sick people and armed and civilian population. And the local civilians, the convention mandates that the local civilians should be encouraged to help the sick and wounded person. Article 12 of the conventions says that the wounded and sick shall be respected and protected without discrimination on the basis of sex, race, nationality, religion, political beliefs, or other criteria. So no kind of distinction can be made between the wounded and sick persons and the civilian populations who are affected by the armed conflict. Article 12 says that the wounded and sick shall not be murdered, exterminated, or subjected to torture or biological experiments. Similarly, Article 15 says that the wounded and sick shall receive adequate care. Article 15 says that the wounded and sick and sick shall be protected against the plunder, and ill treatment. Article 15 and 16 say that all parties in a conflict must search for and collect the wounded and sick, especially after the battle, and provide the information concerning them to the Central Tracking and Protection Agency of the International Committee of the Red Cross. So Red Cross has been given a very important role. It has been specifically mentioned. Let me tell you that Henry Dumont was a businessman who saw a war in the Europe in 1950s, Austria and France war, Italy and Austria. So he saw a large number of people wounded and sick, and nobody was to take care of them. So he was moved by this, and because of his efforts, some treaties or some arrangements were made. Earlier it was a committee of 5, and later there was a number of treaties and conventions which were signed in the Europe to ameliorate the sufferings of the and later this organization was named as International Committee of Red Cross, the organization which was established by Henry Dumont in 1850s. The Second Geneva Convention, this is called the Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the condition of wounded, sick and shipwrecked members of armed forces at the sea, and it was also adopted in 12 August 1949. The Second Geneva Convention it adopts the protections of the First Geneva Convention to reflect the conditions at the sea. Basically, it covers almost the same things, but the difference is that it deals with warfare in the sea. Shipwrecked, if ship is broken or the person is injured or wounded, or in any manner a person is sick, wounded, or in any manner he is physically he incurs any kind of physical suffering, then this convention comes into force, and it protects wounded and sick combatants while on board ship at the sea. It's 63 articles there are in the convention, and it mainly talks about the armed forces members who are wounded, sick or shipwrecked. It also it also gives protection to hospital ships and medical personnels. Hospital ships, the ships which are used as hospitals to provide the medical aid to the armed forces. Civilians who accompany the armed forces, it also protects them. Specific provisions include Article 12 and to 18. Article 12 to 18 are the important provisions. It basically, as I told you, covers the same protection which is covered in first Geneva Convention, but it deals with the war, armed conflict taking place in the sea. Now we come to the third convention. Because of the paucity of time, we have to skip many things. So the third Geneva Convention is called the third Geneva Convention relative to the treatment of prisoners of war. It was also adopted in 12th August 1949. The third Geneva Convention sets out the specific rules for the treatment of prisoners of war. The convention's 143 articles required that the prisoners of war be treated humanely, adequately housed, and receive sufficient food, clothing, and medical care. Its provisions also establish guidelines on the labor discipline, recreation and criminal acts of the prisoners of war. The prisoners of war may include. So, who are the included in the prisoners of war? There are the certain peoples who are considered as prisoners of war. Firstly, the members of armed forces. Secondly, the voluntary militia, including the resistance movements. Voluntary militia, to people who are voluntarily participating, people who are not the part of the regular armed forces. They are also, if they are apprehended, then if they are captivated, then they are also treated as prisoners of war. Third category is civilians accompanying the armed forces. This is also very important. Civilians who are not directly participating in the hostilities, people who are providing medical aids, providing logistics, providing food, etc. If they are apprehended, they also enjoy the same protection as the soldiers. So they are also considered as prisoners of war. Prisoners of war must not be subjected. So the main protections available under this convention is that the prisoners of war must not be subjected to torture or medical experimentation, and must be protected against the acts of violence, insult, and public curiosity. Article 7 provides that the prisoners of war are required to provide to their captors only their names, their ranks, badge, birth and military service number. Their badge, their military service number, their names, etc. These are the information which can be sought from the prisoners of war. They should not be subjected to torture to extract the strategic information, information related to military activities, military plans, etc. Female prisoners of war must be treated with regard due their should be treated having regard to their sex. So prisoners of war, women prisoners of war should be whatever extra protection is required, or extra facilities, or extra if their specific needs should be taken care of. Similarly, the captors must not engage in any reprisal or discriminate on the basis of race, nationality, religion, etc. Their political views, opinion, or their nationality, their religion, their caste, their race, sex, etc. And they should not be used for reprisal. They should not be used for example, to attack the forces to which they belong. Similarly, prisoners of war must be housed in a clean, adequate shelter and receive the food, clothing, and medical care necessary to maintain good health. They must not be held in combat areas where they are exposed to fire, or can they be used to shield areas from the military operation. They should be shielded from the areas of military operation. They should be kept in a safe area, away from the war zone, or the area where the armed conflict is taking place. They may be required to do non-military jobs. They can be asked to do non-military jobs under reasonable working conditions, and should be paid a fair rate. If required, they can be used for their services can be used, but they should not be used for military purposes. And if their services are used, they should be reasonably paid for their work. Similarly, the names of the prisoners of war must be sent immediately to the Central Tracking Agency of the ICRC. ICRC establishes a central tracking agency where when the armed conflict takes place, and it is the duty of the parties who are engaged in hostilities to send the names and details of the prisoners of war to the Central Tracking Agency. Prisoners of war should be allowed to correspond with their families and receive relief packages. Similarly, Article 82 provides that the prisoners are subjected to prisoners are subjected to the laws of their captors and can be tried by their captors, courts, but the captor shall ensure that the fair trial take place. If they commit any kind of offence, they can be tried, but fair trial should be ensured. So these are the some of the important provisions relating to the third convention. Now we come to the fourth convention. That is, the convention is related to the protection available to the civilian population, and this convention was also adopted in 12th August 1949, and it talks about the protection available to the civilian population during the armed conflict. So the convention standards are now with regard to this convention, it talks about the protection available to this convention is called the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war, and it was adopted, as I told you, in 1949. The civilian the civilians are the people who live in the occupied territories and are protected by the 59 articles of this fourth Geneva Convention. The civilians are to be protected from murder, torture, or brutality, and should not be discriminated on the ground of race, religion, nationality, political views, opinion, etc. And the hospitals and safety zones may be established for the wounded and sick and aged children. So the hospitals and the medical facilities should be established. Mothers and children up to the age of 7. So the children up to the age of 7 and mothers should receive special protection wherever required. Civilians, hospitals, and their staff are to be protected. Article 24 to 25 provide that this convention provides for care of children who are orphaned or separated from their families. The ICRC, Central Tracking Agency, and Protection Agency, Central Tracking and Protection Agency is also authorized to maintain record and provide support wherever required. So similarly, the safety, honor, and of the family rights needs to be protected, and the convention also provides that the civilians are to be respected, and pillage and reprisal should not be against. So we have covered the 4 conventions, and let me in 30 seconds tell you that there are 2 protocols adopted in 1977. One is related to the protection international armed conflict, and the second protocol related to the non-international armed conflict. These protocols expand the scope of the protection available under the 1949 conventions, and in 2005 another protocol came into existence which recognizes red crystal as one of the symbols, protected symbols like Red Cross and Red Crescents. So with this we end our presentation. Thank you very much.